Sure, a lot of people know who Steven Van Zandt is from this. You know, yet there are actually some people out there in the world who know Steven Van Zandt from this.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
The Sopranos, one of the greatest shows of all time, a bona fide game changer, and Steven had a big part in it. But as most of us know, his career, well, it's music.
I am a patriot, and I love my country.
Growing up in Jersey, he was 13 years old when he, like millions of kids around America, saw the seminal moment.
The Beatles!
Close your eyes, and I'll kiss you.
Baptism by rock and roll, and Steven knew what he wanted to be. In the late 60s, he hooked up with another young musician, played up and down the Jersey Shore. That young musician was Bruce Springsteen. He was featured on an album that made the Boss a superstar. Steven played with the E Street Band for 9 years. Then in 1984, he went solo and used music to address some of the big issues. He organized the top artists of the day to speak out against apartheid. And as for acting, well, total fluke. David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos, saw Steven on TV, and just like that, he became a part of America's favorite mob family.
Just this one time, I'll let you ask me about my affairs.
Now, these days, he's back with the E Street Band, gearing up for a world tour. Plus, he's got a new TV series called Lilyhammer. It's about a New York gangster who enters the witness protection program and winds up, in all places, Norway.
Take care of whoever you gotta take care of.
Please welcome to the show, Steven Van Zandt.
Good. Good to see you.
What's happening, man?
You, baby, you.
No, you.
Come on.
It's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
So a guy that wasn't an actor, right?
Don't tell anybody.
You're finding your way into it. It's another gangster character.
Yeah, it just happened, you know? Isn't it funny how in life, you know, you plan all these things and then you don't do any of them, you know? And the ones that do happen by accident. This is one of those.
Were you a planning guy to begin with? Did you always have an idea of what you were going to do?
Not really. Not really. But this was really weird. I mean, this husband and wife come up to me in Norway, producing one of my bands for my label, you know, Cocktail Slippers. And they said, you know, we have an idea for a show. Gangster goes in the witness protection program and chooses Lilyhammer, Norway. I'm like, that's so stupid. I got to do it, you know? It just was like, it's a great idea because they're such a conservative country, really. You know, they're a monoculture, 5 million people. So I really got involved. I became one of the writers and producers, and I went over there for 6 months, you know.
A friend of mine raised this to me, and I thought it was really interesting, and I think she's just bang on. In the E Street Band, you're next to the boss for all these years. In The Sopranos, you're next to the boss for all these years, and now you're not next to the boss. You're the guy.
I know. I don't like it as much. I'm not as comfortable. I like being behind, you know. But this is fun, though. You know, it's fun to be the boss nowadays. You know, I mean, and this turned out to be fun. But I really am a band guy. I'm an ensemble guy. I really am. I am like a consigliere. I'm an underboss. That's my natural instinct, you know. But in this case, you know, this was a guy that. Because he was an underboss, you know, and got the fish out of water thing, you know, it turned out to be a fun gig. It really is.
So much of it goes back to when you were a kid and seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Everything. That changed the world. I mean, it changed my world, and that changed the world. There was not one single band in the world the day before that. You know, the day after that, everybody had a band in the garage, including me. And that's the truth. People, you know, there were solo artists. You know, there were Chuck Berry's and Little Richard and singing groups like the doo-wop groups. But there was no such thing as a band that played and sang and wrote their own songs. So that was a revelation. And you know, all of a sudden, a band communicates something different than an individual. To this day, rock and roll is all about bands, and pop music is all about individuals. Mm-hmm. You know, not making an evaluation on either one, but bands communicate family, friendship, community, you know? And that's what attracted me.
The other thing for you, though, it's been interesting, it wasn't just that you've been in that band and had your own solo career, is that you actually started to change people's ideas about what a political activist could be in a band. Your Ain't Gonna Play Sun City song, that video, changed a lot of people's attitudes towards apartheid. And I didn't know about apartheid. I was, what, 12, 13 years old, and I learned about it because I saw that video and I heard that song. How did you become involved with something like that?
You know, I didn't pay much attention in school. I was a really bad student, and all I cared about was rock and roll, okay? You know, that was my religion, that was everything. So all of a sudden, you know, I got this tunnel vision. Anyway, we're doing our first European tour, and the kid comes up to me in the street and says, you know, why are you putting missiles in my country, you know? What are you talking about? You know, I got a guitar in that case, not a missile, kid. You know, what are you crazy? You know. But I kept thinking about it, you know, and I realized, oh my God, I'm not a guitar player to this kid, or a Republican or a Democrat. I'm an American, right? Which had never occurred to me before. You know, you don't think you're an American until you leave the country, right? So I'm wondering, I guess I am putting missiles in this country. Well, what else am I doing? So I studied our foreign policy after World War II. Found out we were doing a lot of bad things, you know, that I didn't know about. And, you know, we were not supporting democracy all over the world. We weren't the good guys all the time. You know, and this was shocking to me, you know. And I got so obsessed with it, I quit the band, you know, foolishly as it may be. I quit the band and dedicated the next 10 years to nothing but politics, you know, international politics and learning about what's going on. And
how did you tell the band I'm leaving to do this?
It was tough, because Born USA was just about to come out, which I co-produced. And it was going to be this ridiculous success. And I'd worked my whole life, you know, getting to that point, you know, and I walked away. Yeah, you can look back, you know, and say it was very stupid. But I learned everything I know since I left, you know.
Right.
So it's hard to say. You know?
I don't want to do it. I want to play a clip here. Take a look at this.
We will no longer vote for politicians who refuse to enforce the economic boycott of the terrorist government of South Africa. Most of all,
let's see your hands.
we the people demand the unconditional release of Nelson Mandela.
72,000 people, man.
Yeah, we got him out of jail, man.
You got him out of jail.
Got him out of jail.
Do you feel like you did it?
Oh yeah, we you know, everybody said it was impossible, that South Africa was invulnerable, you know, and you know, we sat down and I knew that if we could make the cultural boycott work, the economic boycott would follow, and that whole regime would collapse. And you know, you hoped they would let Mandela out of jail. I mean, you weren't really sure they would. And it was one of the thrills of my life when I saw him walking out.
Bands used to come play when I was a kid in Toronto, and there would be protesters outside saying they played Sun City, which was this, you know, Vegas-style casino, a resort that bands would go play at, and you pressured them. Whose mind did you change about playing Sun City?
Oh, everybody. We shut them down, literally, overnight. I mean, we really did.
Would you call bands up yourself saying, don't do this?
Yeah, well, we didn't have to, because at that point, it became such a big hit, you know, that everybody knew about it. And they were being fooled. I wasn't saying that the people who had played there were bad guys, you know. Everybody wanted to start that little war in between artists. I'm like, no, let's be united as artists and make the real bad guys the bad guys, you know, which is the government. Because I talked to Queen, who had gone, you know, a few people had gone, and they paid them a lot of money, and they said they were playing a different country. So they didn't know they were violating the UN boycott because they thought they were playing a different country, but it was a lie. You know, and that's what our record exposed, you know, that the Sun City Resort was not in a different country, you know. It was, in fact, a violation of the boycott. So we shut them down overnight.
So there you go. So, you know, Born in the USA comes out, this band goes on this run, you're no longer in this band, you dedicate your life to politics. When that time is done, when you, not that you're not politically active now, but when that moment's done and you're walking your dog in New York City, what are you thinking about that time?
I'm thinking, have I blown my life? Have I wasted my life? Have I made a mistake, you know, by walking away from that success and becoming obsessed with politics, which does not pay the rent, you know? But I wanted, you know, I wanted to politicize, well, you know, Bono and Bruce and, you know, Joey Ramone and you know, everybody. And they were all in it, and then they continued that sort of political stuff and was very effective, you know.
And how does the getting back in the E Street Band thing go?
Well, we talked, you know, about it one day, you know, we were having a conversation. You know, we stayed friends the whole time, and he didn't call until I got the Sopranos, right? You know, I said, okay, I'm done with music. I'm now an actor, right? I did the first season. Bruce calls, hey, let's put the band back together. You son of a, you know. Where were you 10 years ago? And yeah, and they just did it again.
Yeah.
You know, I get Lilyhammer. Yeah. He calls again.
Stick around. We're going to find out why a guy from Jersey called himself Miami Steve. Anthropology with Steven Van Zandt right after the break.
On the piano, Professor Rob Benton. On the bass guitar, Gary W. Talent. On the guitar, Miami Steve.
Look at that, eh? Hammersmithvillian, 1975.
Yeah, where's that suit now that you need it? I could use that in the Lilyhammer show.
Were you Miami Steve before you were Little Steven?
Yeah, I was briefly Miami Steve. I had done what they call, when the Beatles came, right? Yeah. Ironically, the first thing they did when they became successful was they put all the heroes out of work. Okay, now it was a whole new world, right, with bands.
You're talking about the rock and roll guys from
all
before.
The pioneers, all the pioneers of the 50s, you know, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, all those guys. So all of a sudden it became an oldie circuit. They were called oldies, which they didn't like, by the way, you know, because they weren't that old yet. And that became a whole different world, like a circuit unto itself. And I did that oldie circuit with the group called the Dovells, You Can't Sit Down and Bristol Stomp. And I met all my heroes. I met all those guys, you know. I met Gary U.S. Bonds, you know, and Little Richard and everybody.
Little Richard, wasn't he the reverend at your wedding?
Yeah, he was the preacher at my wedding.
That has got to be the most interesting wedding ever. Yeah. Percy Sledge sang "When a Man Loves a Woman" at your wedding?
Yeah, when we walked down the aisle, yeah.
And Bruce was your best man?
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's Little Richard like as a reverend?
He's crazy, man. He's crazy. He's as crazy as you know. He lied. He said he did it before. He had never done it before. You know. And, you know, so we picked the shortest sermon, you know, figured he's gonna, but he just went off, you know, he went off improvising. It was hilarious, yeah.
When you want to say, so Miami Steve.
Oh, so the oldie circuit trip ended in Miami for Dick Clark's New Year's show, which at the time was at the Deauville Hotel in Miami. And I came back with all those flowered shirts and you know, the hat and everything. And I just kept wearing it in New Jersey in January, you know, where it's snowing. You know, so I just refused to. I said, I'm refusing to acknowledge winter ever again, you know. So Bruce started calling me Miami.
Let me provide some anthropology questions for you. Okay, so in the band, in the Easter Band, are you Mr. Congeniality? Are you the best dressed or best sense of humor?
All of the above.
I have heard, and in Scorsese's film, I have seen that even Keith Richards waits for Mick Jagger to set the set list. With all your songs, who picks the set list?
Yeah, no, Bruce does set the set list. And mind you, about 2 or 3 songs in, he throws it away. You know, starts
just going off.
Yeah, what we call it calling audibles. You know, you'll see him yell into my ear, right? Yeah. And I got to take care of my side of the stage.
So that's him just saying, look, I want to do this now?
Yeah, I feel like doing something else, yeah.
And do you look at him and go, you're killing me over here?
No, I'm used to it. You know. It's fun.
Give me some closure on The Sopranos. Did Tony get whacked at the end? I mean, we need like this, just, you know, go, what?
Well, what I tell everybody is this.
Yeah, what do you tell? Yeah.
You ready, Roy?
Yeah.
Just between me and you.
Yeah.
At the end, the director said cut, and the actors went home.
And then if I was, no, but if you were saying this to me like you're saying this to me, I would be your character, and I would look at you and go, what the
You can't say that on TV.
We just did. I need you to say it once for me. Just say it once for me.
We can say that?
You say it, yeah.
What the
Amazing. Lilyhammer is on Netflix. You can watch all the episodes. Steven Van Zandt, everybody. We'll be right back.